Well, back in the early 70s, softball was going strong in KZ, and they had men, women, and children's teams, and they had been quite successful. And as time went on, won several championships and had quite a following. And we thought that it had come time that we do something to commemorate what they had done. So Mo Ashley, who is now deceased, Leroy Staley, and I formed a committee to build a museum. And so we built the original KZ Softball Hall of Honor and opened it on July the 3rd of 1976.
Each year, a local committee would then, and still does, induct up to 5 people from the submitted nominations that have somehow contributed to the success of the softball programs in KZ.
They were ball players, umpires, news media, various commissioners, and various other people who helped. And to date, we have over 110 in the original part.
Special emphasis on original here. The Hall of Honor underwent an expansion several years ago and now houses 3 separate spaces dedicated solely to softball.
About 3 or 4 years ago, the city of KZ allocated $1,500, and we started refurbishing the original building. And as things went on, we decided to build another wing for the KZ Westfield Warriors High School girls, and then we went after the Illinois ASA Hall of Fame, and it was awarded to us last year. So now we have, you might say, 3 museums in one, and it's been quite successful.
The ASA, or Amateur Softball Association, is the largest amateur sports body in the nation, and its Illinois Hall of Fame makes its home in KZ.
They have their way of selecting members for their Hall of Fame, which is here. And each year they select approximately 6 people, 7 people. Plus now they also select teams and organizations as well. And they're all listed here. And if you want to see the accomplishments, why, you can travel to KZ, Illinois, and there you are.
The softball tradition in KZ stretches back to the 1930s, where it all began with one man.
KZ, in around 1935, a gentleman by the name of Ted Anderson, he was really hooked on softball. He wanted a lighted field, and so, of course, at that time there wouldn't be enough money to go around to do it through the city. He did it on his own. We had lights before the major leagues had their lights.
KZ continued to take softball very seriously and developed several successful teams over the years, including the Bombers and the Truckers.
The Truckers were in existence for almost 20 years, and I played about 15 of those. And it was a team that was very homegrown, local players, and we started having success in the mid to late 60s, and then we became more of a traveling team throughout the 70s. One of the reasons we did that is because if you're willing to go play some of the best teams at their locations, then they might be willing to come here. Probably the most special time for the Truckers as an organization was from 74 through 80, because we hosted a national tournament at that time, and it was a big draw for softball fans from the entire East Central Illinois. It was sort of a culmination of a lot of people's efforts to make softball a big deal. And then, as far as I'm concerned, that was sort of the springboard for future successes, because as was mentioned earlier, You know, the girls' programs have done very well. Well, a lot of those girls were daughters of former players and coached by former players. So that's just sort of kept the tradition going.
Those daughters of former Bombers, Truckers, and other softball team players have continued to keep the tradition alive in Casey and have several titles and even their own room in the museum.
Our high school team has won 7 state championships, and our junior high has won 7 state championships. And our high school program has more records in the state of Illinois than any other team anywhere. And it's an accomplishment that'll probably never be equaled. And it started back in 1984 when the state started having girls softball. And in 1986, we won our first state championship. I tell everybody, I said, we didn't have any more talent than anybody else. We just worked harder at it. And a lot of people laugh when they hear that, but it's basically true.
The successes of those teams, as well as many others, are documented throughout the museum with memorabilia, documents, and all things softball. And the guys say that there's something here for everyone.
Many people come here that aren't necessarily interested in softball, and they find it fascinating to see so much memorabilia, and it's, I think, colorful, and people are fascinated that Casey can support something of this nature.
You go anywhere in this state and basically a lot of other states, and you talk about Casey, they know who you're talking about because they know Casey means softball. And that's just the way it turns out with your reputation precedes you in a lot of cases because they know when you hear the word Casey that means softball.